Now, in this video, we will discuss about the disease botulism. Botulism is an acute fatal motor paralytic condition. This is caused by the ingestion of exotoxins which are produced by the bacteria Claustridium Bartolina, which is a gram-positive central spore-forming bacteria. And the botulism is mostly a case of food intoxication, but not an infection, which means the disease, as we learned earlier in case of tetanus. Tetanus is produced by the ingestion of or the toxins which are secreted by the Clostridium tetani and not merely the rod itself. As the same in case of botulism also, this is produced by the ingestion of the exotoxins which are produced by the Clostridium botulinum in the food sources, but it is not directly produced by the rod itself. Now let us focus on the Clostridium botulinum. The word botulinum has a different story. Some scientific community people debate that botulinum is derived from the Latin word botulus. The meaning of botulus is sausage. Sausage is nothing but a meat product which is mainly in the form of cylindrical shape, which is covered by the skin. Within this, a meat resides, and this is a food product. In the history, some people ate this sausage contaminated with the toxins of Clostridium botulinum. Upon ingestion of these toxins of the Clostridium botulinum, those human beings produced the clinical signs which are similar to the signs which are produced in the botulinum. Because of this, the species name is derived as Clostridium botulinum. And some scientists believe that the name Clostridium botulinum is because of the rod itself, because the rod is look like a sausage shape, that is a cylindrical like shape. Because of this, the name Clostridium botulinum is got. Some scientists believe this, and some scientists believe that eating of sausage will leads to the production of the clinical signs which are similar to the botulinum. This is the small story behind the name Clostridium botulinum. Now let us come to the disease. The source of these toxins are mainly decaying carcasses and vegetable materials. And also, here one nutritional aspect is also there, which means the animal which are having pica, that is a phosphorus deficient soil, will ultimately leads to the deficiency of phosphorus to the animal. And animal try to eat whatever the things which are present surrounding that animal, and during that process animal chew the any bones, and if accidentally the animal will chew the bone of an animal carrying the type D strains of Clostridium botulinum, and that will leads to the food intoxication in the ruminants. And in case of ruminant, this botulism is known as loin disease, Loin, loin disease. And this is a condition in case of ruminant. And what happened in case of horses? In case of horse, the condition is called as forage poisoning or forage botulism. This is because of eating of the contaminated hay silage. Those hay silages which are contaminated with the exotoxins of the Clostridium botulinum will lead to the production of forage botulism in horse. And those horses which are young, that are nothing but foals, and in case of foals, a separate name is given to this disease, that is Shakker's foal syndrome, that is known as Shakker foal syndrome. And this is similar to the wound botulism in humans. Wound botulism is mainly seen in case of humans when the bacteria grows and produces toxins in the wound. Because of this different characteristic feature, the disease which are produced by the bacteria which grows and produces toxins in the wound, such botulism is called as wound botulism. And this is almost similar in case of horses. And now let us come to the different types of botulism. This botulism is produced by the different exotoxins which are produced by the Claustridium Bartolinum. There are several exotoxins which are produced by the rod, and some veterinary important toxins are listed here. Type A toxin is responsible for the condition limber neck in poultry. Limber neck is nothing but a torticulosis in the poultry, which means there is a twisting of neck of poultry will happen. Such condition is called as limber neck. And type D toxin will cause lamb sickness. This is in mainly sheep, goat, and also responsible in the ruminants, other ruminants. And type C is mainly cause the forage poisoning, that is forage botulism in horses. And type E exotoxin is produced in the product of fish and fish products. And now let us come to some more other important things of botulism. This is the condition of food intoxication, that is the ingestion of the preformed food toxins, and these toxins do not enter CNS because of the blood-brain barrier, and these toxins mainly affect peripheral nervous system. To be specific, these toxins affect the parasympathetic system, and in parasympathetic system, the nerves which are present are called as parasympathetic nerves, and those nerves are responsible to secrete acetylcholine neurotransmitter. This acetylcholine neurotransmitter mainly act in the contraction and relaxation of the muscle. This acetylcholine is responsible for the contraction of muscle. And the mechanism of action of these exotoxins is that, now let us look at the screen. Consider this is the nerve terminal, and this is the neuroeffector junction, and this is the effector system, that is nothing but a skeletal muscle having the receptor sites. This nerve terminal containing neurotransmitter acetylcholine into the vesicles, and these vesicles are made up of a specialized protein called as synaptobreivin. This protein is responsible to fuse the membranes of both vesicles and nerve terminal, thereby to release acetylcholine in the cleft, and those released acetylcholine will further act on the respective receptors to produce action potential reach to the skeletal muscles. Thereby there is opening up sodium ions and sodium ion channels and calcium ion channel. There is influx of sodium, and which leads to the depolarization, and upon again there is opening up calcium channels, and thereby there is entry of calcium, and by depolarization it will lead to the release of calcium from the calcium storehouse which is present in the cell, that is endoplasmic reticulum. From the released calcium they will go and bind with the troponin protein which is present on the actin, and again you all know the process that is called as sliding filament mechanism. Thereby there is a contraction of the skeletal muscle will happen. This is the normal physiology what we are experiencing the daily. And in case of the botulism condition, the ingested exotoxins will affect the synaptobreivin protein which is present on the vesicle, thereby inhibiting the vesicle to release acetylcholine into the cleft. By inhibiting this acetylcholine release, then there is no availability of the acetylcholine to bind to the receptor, and there is no transformation of the action potential, and thereby no entry of sodium, no release of calcium, no binding of the calcium to the troponin. Ultimately there is no contraction. This condition will ultimately leads to the production of paralysis, and that type of paralysis is called as flaccid paralysis. This is contract to that of spastic paralysis which is produced in the tetanus. This tetanus is because of the exotoxins will inhibit the inhibitory neurotransmitters release, and thereby there is no inhibition of the contraction, which means ultimately severe contraction of the muscles will occur, and thereby eventually leading to the paralysis in case of tetanus. And that type of paralysis is called as spastic paralysis, which is contrary to this type of paralysis in case of botulism. This is called as flaccid paralysis. I hope the things are clear. And now we will discuss some differentiations between the Clostridium tetani and Clostridium botulism. The site of production of toxin in case of Clostridium tetani is mainly wound sites, where there is an anaerobic condition, that condition support the rod to liberate or secrete toxins. That is in case of tetany. But in case of botulism, the toxin is free found in the decaying vegetables or food products and which is produced in the carcass. And now let us come to the mode of action. Mode of action in case of Clostridium tetani is these toxins act centrally by blocking the synaptic inhibition. That is nothing but these toxins will inhibit the release of inhibitory neurotransmitters. But in case of botulism, these toxins act peripherally, that is peripheral nervous system, by blocking the neuromuscular transmission. This is happening in case of botulism. And the type of paralysis which is produced in case of tetany is spastic paralysis, and in case of botulism is flaccid paralysis. These are the 3 points which differentiate between the Clostridium tetani disease and botulism disease. Now let us come to the clinical signs. I hope, as you know, in this disease we are unable to get the gross and microscopic lesions. Some microscopic lesions may be found in the nervous system, but the gross lesions are nil in this botulism. The main clinical signs such as flaccid muscle paralysis, and here you can notice the progressive motor paralysis of the muscles and disturbed vision, difficulty in chewing and swallowing. Ultimately, death is because of the failure of respiratory system and cardiac system. And these are the points as we already discussed. This is because of the pica, that is deficiency of phosphorus. And in case of cattle and horse, it is also called as forest botulism or forest poisoning condition. And in horse, the wound botulism which is similar to the human beings. And salivation paralysis with difficulty of movement and impaired vision. Tongue paralysis leads to the difficulty in the swallowing. And swines are bit resistance. And in case of bird, the affected bird exhibit the torticulosis, which means the twisting of neck, that is called as limber neck. And this is caused by the eating of infected blue of fly maggots and vegetable matter. And in this case, head and neck drops, and death of the poultry is because of respiratory failure and asphyxia. And some other clinical signs such as paralysis of neck, labored breathing, that is difficulty in breathing, ruffled feather. These are the some significant clinical signs in case of poultry, and there is no characteristic gross lesions. This ends the topic on botulism. Hope these things are clear in case of pathogenesis and what are the clinical signs and causative agent. In next video we will try to discuss on enterotoxemia. After that, thank you.